Hello, everybody. This is John. Welcome to the NCGA Valent Ag Weather Outlook. Last day of December, December 31st, 2016. Well, if you're in the upper Midwest, particularly North Dakota, you know what I'm talking about here. It's been a miserable winter. I really do think we're getting into a repeated snow track situation between the upper Midwest and the Great Lakes. Snow's really piling on, and it looks like we're getting repeated tracks right along that boundary. So some areas of the Midwest, some parts of the Midwest, we're looking at not much snow at all, but some parts we absolutely are. I think we're also getting to the start of the classic winter storm season, and I'm going to be sending out some information on that this week. Your panhandle hooks and your Alberta clippers. Actually, I say we're starting it. It started. We had a nor'easter this week affecting the northeast U.S., so we've already started it. But climatologically, this is the time of year I think we start to get into those more classic winter storms. And we've definitely had a winter of significant temperature variability. These big oscillations that I talk about, these are basically saying pressure's changing, temperature's changing, and I don't think that's going to change much as we look forward with big temperature swings lasting on the order of a week or so, and then we get into a different type of pattern over some areas, not all areas. So when we look at the precipitation over the last 7 days, we see a couple things stand out. Actually, I see three. We have this area right here that's the nor'easter, brought a heavy snow to the northeast U.S. We have more heavy snow over parts of the upper Midwest. And then we had some significant rainfall over parts of the Ohio River Valley right in that area. Now we look at snow. This was over the last week, the snow, and you can see most of it was over. This is actually the last 3 days. This is over the the northeast U.S., the heaviest snow. But this is the snow on the ground. And look at this. We're looking at here over 30 inches of snow, in some cases even 48 inches estimated here over parts of North Dakota. The blue here is 20 inches, the slider blue, so lots of snow over North Dakota, northern Minnesota, northern Wisconsin, parts of Michigan as well, and then the northeast U.S. So I'm certainly watching this now. I'm getting concerned about spring snowmelt. That's way off there. We can get a lot of changes, but really that's a lot of water now on the ground. And it's not melting. Look at this here. We have a little bit of melting on the southern edge, but we're really not getting much melting in the upper Midwest. And with cold air pushing in this week, I don't expect any. And bad news, if you're in this area I'm talking about, I'm going to be talking about some more snow on top of the snow you already have. Now, last week was a bit milder than normal over most areas, so I hope you enjoyed it. Temperatures got back up a bit above normal. We're looking at 5 degrees above normal in that sort of that medium shade of orange there. Most areas, and some areas even quite a bit more, the south central U.S. But this is, before I get to the forecast, I wanted to show you how December is shaping up or has shaped up going into the last day. And this is temperature here. I didn't label it, but this is temperature. This is indicating below normal in green. So we really had well below normal temperatures this December in this region, and a bit below, not a lot, a bit below in this region. Then we get into the yellow. This is a bit above normal, and this is well above normal. So basically the southeast U.S. and the south central U.S. modestly to significantly above normal December temperatures, and then we get into the Midwest and especially the upper Midwest, anywhere from modestly below to well below. This is precipitation. Green is indicating above normal precipitation, and yellow is indicating below normal precipitation. And again, that's for the month of December. And I'll be putting out more information, a summary of that over the next couple days, Monday or Tuesday. Okay, now let's get to the forecast. This is the temperature anomalies, and we still have some very unusual temperature anomalies, much above normal over Alaska, and also these pockets of warm air over source regions that could be unusually cold. So that's why I think one of the reasons is we're having blocking type action. We're getting these pools of cold air, and then it's being blocked. So really a complicated type pattern. And you can see that here in the jet stream pattern. This is the current jet stream pattern. And when we get warm water, and you might remember a post that I sent out this week. I know it's one of the longest ones I've done in a while, but it's complicated. And I wanted to show you that when we have sea surface temperatures that are unusually cold or unusually mild or warm, they affect the jet stream. And here's an example. This warm water here in right off the Alaska coast, Gulf of Alaska, the jet stream's pushing north of that. And then when the jet stream pushes north, you usually get an opposite type amplified flow downstream, and you get a dip. We have a secondary circulation here. This is that circulation associated with the polar vortex, or the polar circulation. I think that term is a bit overused, but you can see it's a bit displaced now. It's a bit further south. That's going to be our weather story over the next week to 10 days, much colder type weather. Two things causing it. One is this warm ocean water, jet streams pushing to the north, then the jet stream digs to the south, and then the polar circulation here is a bit displaced. And we can see that on the Arctic Oscillation here. This is that week of milder weather that we just went through, and now the Arctic Oscillation is going negative. One of the things I want to point out here that I notice is we have a very big spread here. This is a much greater spread than usual. So it's saying the model's confidence in how far and how prolonged and how intense this cold air is, there's some uncertainty. And I've sort of seen that in the past. Not so much in north central U.S., but the eastern U.S. doesn't always seem to be as intense in that region as models are predicting. Now, the last couple of weeks I've talked about the Eastern Pacific Oscillation. Wanted to show you this is longer term. This is when it's negative, it's generally colder over large parts of the U.S., but it is going positive as we get into mid-January, and that means the jet stream is a little bit more west to east, and it could be milder weather. Okay, so let's get into the details. Here's this week. We start to bring that in now. In the first 5 days, you don't see a lot of that blue, and that's saying that cold air is just beginning to work in. Your average temperatures here, if you're in the eastern part of the Corn Belt or the eastern half of the U.S., it's going to be a mild first part of the week, ending out the weekend and into early in the week. But then as we go through the week, you can really see that cold air pushing in. This gives you some idea. This is Tuesday. You can really easily see where that cold front is. This is well below normal, well above normal. Thursday, it's spread across a large part of the U.S., especially the upper Midwest. Now, we've seen this. It just doesn't push quite as far east, but we're still looking at below normal temperatures. Now, as I mentioned, I keep track of storm tracks. That gives us some idea of where we might get our heavier snow, and there are 2 storm tracks in the middle part of the nation this week. That one to the north is the one that's probably going to give us some more heavy snow, unfortunately, to areas that have already received it. And then if we look at where we need additional precip, look at the southeast U.S. Even though there's been some rainfall, significant rainfall in December, we still need up to a foot of rain, maybe 9 to 12 inches, 12 to 15 inches over northeast Alabama and northern parts of Georgia, western South Carolina, right up along the Appalachians. And if we look at the rainfall forecast this week, we're going to have some needed and welcome rain over these areas. Now, a little side note here, I've talked about La Nina diminishing, and I've also talked many times about when I feel that these La Nina and El Nino are more weak. I don't think the impacts are all that significant, and that's what we're seeing. This would be a dry winter if the La Nina was all that strong, and it's really been the opposite over the southeast U.S. Now, other than the southeast U.S., really the only area is right in here in the middle part of the nation of some additional precipitation, and then the western part of the U.S. As far as snow goes, well, here's the bad news for North Dakota. Another possibility of some heavy snow, northern parts of Minnesota and North Dakota, a large part of North Dakota, also the northeast U.S. this week, but it looks like additional piling of snow in that area. Now, if we get into the 6 to 10 day frame, we see that blue. The cold air is in place. Here we go, 6 to 10 day over a large part of the nation. And then finally, as we get into the 11 to 15 day, this is when that EPO could go positive and cold air begins to retreat to the west. So that's given us roughly 11 days, and then you subtract about anywhere from 1 to 5 before that cold gets in there. So that's anywhere from around on the average of 7 to 10 days of cold weather, and then it looks like we begin to retreat some of that cold air. And we can see that in 11 to 15 days, we begin to see it. This area starts to warm up, the eastern Corn Belt, the southern tier of the U.S. remains quite warm, and then this cold air begins to retreat. As far as precipitation, I talked about the 2 areas of enhanced precipitation this week. I've outlined it here. The snow up to the north and the rain to the southeast U.S. Here's week 2. Take a look at, we'll see if California gets that. They might get some needed rain in Southern California. And then week 3, or 3 and 4, with that shift in the EPO, look at this, milder temperatures over a large part of the country. We might actually get some kind of reprieve, and it's sort of nice getting it in the middle of January. And then we have the precipitation on the right. Now we do have some hazards this week. We're going to have high winds and that cold air pushing in, some heavy snow in the north part of the U.S., and then that heavy rain possibility over the south. This gives you a good idea where it's been dry and brown, and look where that rain's falling over that. If we didn't have that dry type of soil in that area, we'd have some floods. And actually, I think we are going to have some river response in that with 4 inches of rain. So basically, brutal cold pushing into the upper Midwest again, but overall the trends turning colder, more snow north central U.S., needed rain southeast U.S., perhaps milder starting in week 3. Now, if you haven't taken a look at the Weather Decisions dashboard, I've been enhancing it. Take a look here, agweatheradvisor.com. NCGA is a username and your password's NCGA. Take a look at it. Keep it up on your screen as you go through the day. I do that all day long. I get a lot of my information from that. Hope you look at it. And if you like it, if you're using it and liking it, let me know. I'd like to hear about it or things you'd like to put on it. There's my email, and I'd certainly be open to adding some information. And I usually will update it pretty soon as we get towards spring with more content relating to spring. I wish you all a great Happy New Year and all the best as we get into 2017.